joining us here from the Reese's Senior Bowl. There's one of our favorite Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer back on the program. What's up, Albert?
Insane.
My wife thinks I'm a psychopath because, and she might be right, because I hate peanut butter, but I like peanuts. And she says that makes no sense.
It does make no sense. I
think it makes sense.
I get it.
I never liked peanut butter as a kid. I don't like it now.
I get it.
But I'm good with peanuts.
So is it a texture thing?
I never really liked Reese's peanut butter cups or Reese's Pieces because I wasn't a big peanut butter guy, but I do like peanuts.
So
I don't like onions and like onion rings, so
Same.
I get it.
Don't like onions, love onion rings.
Love onion rings.
There you go.
I'm with them on that one.
Same.
You're all weird.
But you knew that
So wait a
already.
minute, Albert, and then we'll get to the football stuff in a second. So are they giving out, like, is there a peanut butter cup, like, on the sideline? Like, where do they giving stuff away? Like, are they?
I haven't gotten. I haven't gotten anything yet. But I mean, I had a pair of shoes last year that I wore here that were sort of like a lighter color sneaker. They got ruined because that orange Reese's cup, that really distinct orange.
Yes.
Well, the paint hadn't dried yet, and so like all of a sudden, these nice sneakers that I had that were just like completely covered in that orange. So I do have some marks from the Reese's Senior Bowl from over the years, but no free peanut butter cups for me yet.
Well, kids
that I would take them.
Sure, of course. The kids from the Tennessee program must fit in, right? They must, it's like camouflage. Like that's the same color, isn't it?
It's a very distinct orange, and it's all over the place here.
Okay.
So
well,
I'm looking down my credential. The lanyard is yellow, is orange.
Okay.
Like that,
so here's the deal: if you get a free gift bag, send the cups to Brockman, the pieces to me. He doesn't want the pieces.
Okay.
Bring them to Phoenix, Albert.
I'll pick the gift bag. I will ship it. We'll get you guys' addresses, and I'll ship those out to you.
Bring it to Phoenix. We'll see you at the Super Bowl.
That's right. There you go.
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's
fantastic.
Right.
It's a date. It's a date. But don't come empty-handed, damn it. Don't come empty-handed. That's all I'm asking. All right. What is the talk? What's the scuttlebutt? What are people saying when what's the talk when you're walking around there in the NFL? What are all the chatty Cathys babbling about down there? What do they got?
It's weird, Rich, because it really, like, this to me the last couple of years, this event has sort of signaled how much the NFL has slowed down its hiring process because, I mean, I've been coming here probably since like 08, 09, somewhere in there. And, it used to be, I mean, for forever, it was like you'd get here and all the coaching searches would be complete and you'd have like the new coaches here.
Right.
And they would be, you see them in their new gear for the first time and all that different stuff, and they'd be down here and they'd be starting to assemble their staff. And so those coaches the new coaches might be conducting like position coach interviews or whatever. And here we are, and only one of the 5 jobs has been filled, So I think that's sort of the thing that sticks out most when you look at what this event has traditionally been and where it is now. Yes, it's the kickoff to draft season. Yes, this is where the Matthew Stafford trade was consummated a couple years ago, and I'd expect like the Raiders to start ramping up some talks on a Derek Carr trade this week. But really, like the main thing is there are 4 teams that are represented here. They don't even have a head coach right now. So, again, it's part of the league trying to slow down the hiring process and make it more deliberate. They think the teams will be a little bit more open-minded, but, it certainly has sort of changed the face of this event.
So when are we going to get some coaches' names? Or is that going to happen during Super Bowl week? Really? That would be a first.
I mean, I will say this, like, usually sometimes you roll your eyes when because the owner's always going to say, we're going to cast a wide net. Right, when they're firing their coach, we're going to cast a wide net. This year it's kind of true. I mean, I look at the Colts process, and I think I think Jim Irsay really liked the idea of Jeff Saturday, but the other people in the building wanted him to get a good look at everybody, and they may be moving away from that now, maybe towards somebody like Raheem Morris. They have 7 guys coming in for second interviews. Brian Callahan, the Bengals offensive coordinator, did a great job. He's going to be there tomorrow. He's very close with Peyton Manning, and his dad actually coached Chris Ballard at Wisconsin, so there's definitely some background there. Arizona, they really like Brian Flores, but they're going to have the Bengals coordinators in over the next couple of days as well. Denver, obviously, we've seen how their process has looked a little weird and different. Carolina, obviously, is the one that's got it done. So, It feels like most of the other four are at the point where they could make a hire any day, but they've been so deliberate to this point that it's sort of unpredictable whether or not it's going to happen tomorrow or it's going to happen next week.
So let's go one by one here. Sean Payton, is he going to, all the tea leaves, looks like he's hanging with Glazer and Fox for another year.
Yeah.
Right?
I sort of have felt that way from the start. And, I really looked at the landscape, Rich, and, one of the things that I heard pretty consistently in November and December, like how much he liked living out west, and his daughter's out there, and I think he's comfortable living in Manhattan Beach, and he's got a comfortable job at Fox, and he might only have one more swing at being an NFL head coach. So, do you want to just jump at the best thing and what might be a crop of flawed jobs, And so, like you look at, is there a place that has geography? Like I said, he likes being out west, and quarterback situation. Like the two jobs that are out west, Denver and Arizona, you're locked into quarterbacks where, you're not going to be able to get rid of them for the next couple of years. So you better love them. Like you better love Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson if you're going to take that job if you're Sean Payton. I'm not sure he does. And then, you look at like Carolina when he was in the mix there, does he want to go across the country? Houston, same sort of thing. You can build it from the ground up, but how long is it going to take? There are only 5 openings this year. And generally when you have a market like that, that means there's going to be more openings the following year. So I think you add all of this up. And if you're Sean Payton, it's like, do I want to take my one last big swing at being an NFL head coach at a job that I'm not 100% sold on? And so I think that that's part of it. And I do think the teams felt that too. Like I don't like none of these teams. I don't think any of these teams have made an offer to him yet. And I think part of it is the feeling, is he really all into doing it this year? I'm just not sure that he is.
And in between the Michigan school president tweeting out that Jim Harbaugh is staying and the Michigan school president tweeting out he's a Bengals fan looking for New Jersey and you trolling him on Twitter with a photograph of Joe Burrow in an Ohio State jersey, Jim Harbaugh had a second interview with the Broncos in Ann Arbor. What's that about, Albert?
In my defense, like President Santaono, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He put that one on the tee for me. So like
he wasn't talking to you, Albert.
Maybe I should.
He wasn't talking to you. He wasn't talking to you. Okay.
He put it on the tee for me, though. He did put it on the tee for me. I honestly, I think Jim wants to coach in the NFL again, and I think the question isn't like if. I think it's when. And, I do think I think he loves the situation he has with the players and the people in the football program right now. Like, obviously, there have been some issues with the AD over the last couple of years. I think he's good with the president. So, I looked at like where he's at right now. And, I just think the big question is like, is someone going to come to him and just say, Jim, we want you to be our guy. We're going to build a whole operation around you. Is Denver desperate, like where they're going to do something like that? Because I do think that that's what would really tempt him. Now, the other thing that I've been cautioned on this whole thing, like Jim was very hands-on when it came to his contract situation in San Francisco and was always very aware of where he ranked and all of that. And that was part of like where some of the friction was between him and the team. And I think that it could be part of this too, where you made this really difficult on me 2 years ago when you made me take a pay cut. So you know what? I'm going to use every lever I possibly can to win every contract negotiation I have with you from here on out. So I think there's a genuine interest in the NFL. I don't know whether it's now or not. He really likes his football situation in Ann Arbor. And oh, by the way, there's that history of the way he's handled contract negotiations in the past that makes me think maybe part of this is a negotiating tactic with the caveat that if a team comes over the top and says, here are the keys of the kingdom, Jim, we're going to give you $15 or $20 million a year. It's your show. Maybe that might be enough to get him to jump.
Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show from Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. Let's hit on the quarterback carousel. Look, I know Tom Brady told Jim Gray quite famously that he still hasn't made a decision yet on his future. But Brock Purdy going down like this and having a long, shelving ahead. I know they're saying 6 months, but we're That's a throw and elbow UCL injury, and we know what happens with major league pitchers on that front sometimes. So is Brady to the 49ers? Yeah, I mean, you never know. What is Brady to the 49ers? Does this make it more real? It certainly feels that way. It could to me if he wants to go west.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, so that 6-week period last year where it was Brady's retired to Brady's coming back, right? Mm-hmm. The Niners left that door open, and the Niners were interested, and I think Brady was interested. And, I know the Miami thing got a lot more attention because you could tie Sean Payton to it, and there's the relationship with the minority owner, Bruce Beal, there. I think the Miami one got more attention. But San Francisco had quietly, left the light on for Tom. And I think they've sort of left that light on since they decided to walk away from the chance to sign him in 2020. And I think if you look at where they are from a roster standpoint, Rich, you've got two pretty big ifs at quarterback right now under contract for next year in Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. And you've got a roster that is dynamite and ready to win now. Mm-hmm. And a roster that was competitive despite, for 2.5 quarters against the Eagles, despite having a mess at the most important position on the field. So in a lot of different ways, I think it appealed to Brady from a football standpoint. I think it appeals to the Niners. The one thing that I think is the thing that could prevent it from happening is proximity to family. Now, going back to 2020, one of the deciding factors for Tom in going to Tampa rather than the Chargers was that it was closer to New York. And so he'd have better proximity to his son, Jack, who lives in New York. Well, now you'd be talking about having one kid in New York, 2 kids in Miami. And do you want to be that far separated from your kids as they're getting older, even if it is just for 6 or 7 months for a single football season? I think that's the one thing that is the variable that could keep him away from San Francisco. But, I think based on whatever the prognosis is for Brock Purdy over the next few weeks, and the more they find out about his elbow, I certainly think, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to think long and hard about making a really hard run at Tom Brady.
Let's move on to Derek Carr. Albert, you started this interview by saying that the Raiders talking about a trade for Carr. Who in the world would trade for Carr in that contract when they know they got to cut him right after the Super Bowl? Yeah. Why would that happen?
I think it'd be well, there are 2 reasons. Number one, it would be a team that would be looking for certainty, right? So if you get him now, if you agree to a trade now, now you're taken care of, and you can start planning for the season.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about maybe we get him, maybe we don't in the middle of February. The reason Carr would want that is to save face and the optics of it, and it looks better if you get traded than if you get cut. And because he's got the no trade clause, he can control his destination, and his contract would be intact. And so it could mean financially better things for him. I don't know if he'd be able to get the contract he has right now on the open market. So that'd be why it would happen. But, I think it's certainly going to be difficult, because I think the way teams are going to look at this is we're going to say, even if we don't get Derek Carr, would we be okay with Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo or Daniel Jones? You look at the names of some of the quarterbacks that are going to be out there in free agency, and it's is it worth it? Now, Derek Carr might be better than those guys, but is he so much better that you're willing to take on that contract and give up a draft pick to get him?
Well, the other issue is, Albert, too.
Those other guys in free agency.
Right. The other issue is, though, let's just say somebody would be interested in Derek Carr, but they want to see what happens with Brady first. Or they would be interested in Derek Carr, but they got to see what happens with the Dolphins and Tua first. Would the Dolphins be in this mix? Or whatever the heck is going on in Baltimore that has now been 2 weeks under the radar because we're focused on the rest of the playoffs with Lamar Jackson. Could he be made available? What? Aaron Rodgers? You know what I mean? So many places might be interested in Carr, but they want to see how that plays out first, and that's not going to happen in the next week or two, with his timeline.
That's the thing is that's why I think this is an important week. Again, this is the week where, Brad Holmes and Mike Disner came here. Brad Holmes had just gotten the GM job in Detroit, and he came here determined to get closure on Matthew Stafford because he thought it'd be the smartest thing for the Lions to get in front of it. and get in front of the market and offer somebody the certainty right away, so he wasn't dealing with teams considering different options and maybe driving the price down. And I think that that's exactly what Dave Ziegler is going to try to do here. Is you come in and you say, listen, maybe get Brady, maybe you don't. Maybe Rodgers available, maybe he isn't. Maybe Lamar's available, maybe he isn't. Maybe you like Baker, do you like him as much as Derek? And, I think the selling point for Dave Ziegler coming here, and he has talked to a couple teams, I think there's at least one team in the NFC South that I think would be interested in exploring a trade. Like, you look at, like, I think the idea is, like, do you want the bird in hand or do you want two in the bush? You know what I mean? Like, and do you want to have, like, the ability to take care of your quarterback position and not deal with the uncertainty of waiting for the next 6 weeks to unfold and seeing what happens with all of those other guys? So that would be the selling point. And I think it could be attractive to a team that might think it doesn't have the most attractive situation to offer to a quarterback, where you feel like we need to do something early because we're going to be in competition with all these other teams for quarterbacks, and we might not win in that sort of battle.
I mean, I think we just kind of set up the quarterback carousel over the next several weeks right there. Before I let you go,
yep.
What is the talk there about what the Bears are going to do? We have Justin Fields slated to be on our show at the Super Bowl in Arizona next Thursday. Yep. Can't wait to talk with him. I mean, what is the chatter there about the top pick and what the Bears might do and with it or Fields? What do you got for me there?
My sense is that they're going to move forward with Justin Fields and try to trade the first pick.
Try to trade
now,
it.
Could that change based on their evaluation of Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson? Sure. But I've talked to enough people there that feel like Justin, there wasn't enough around Justin to get a really clean evaluation on him last year. And, like, given what he had, what he did was really, really impressive. I didn't realize this, Rich. Did you know that they broke the Bears' all-time record for rushing yards last year?
Well, he was incredible. He was incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, and here's the thing. The other thing is, obviously I live up in New England, and we've heard about, the friction and the bitching from Mac Jones and everything else up there. Did we hear one word from Justin Fields complaining about his circumstances? No, right? So, I think that there is an appreciation not only for how Justin played, how he put his body on the line, but also how he handled all of it, and that, he kind of had a square job out the whole thing. And, I'm taking the responsibility here because I am the franchise quarterback. And I think that scored him a lot of points with people in that organization. And I think right now where things are trending are towards Justin Fields being their quarterback in 2023 with a lot personally on the line then. I'm not saying he's going to be their quarterback 10 years from now. I don't know that. But I think with a lot on the line personally, he will be their quarterback in 2023. And they're either going to try to get somebody to trade for that pick or take Jalen Carter or Will Anderson with it.
Albert, thanks for the time, as always. We'll see you in Arizona. Yep. If you've got Reese's, again, the cups for Brockman, the pieces for me, and take your peanut-loving but peanut butter-hating phone call, and I appreciate it.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
All right, yeah.
Take care of yourself, Bert.
I'll get it in the mail as soon as I get it.
You're the best. Thanks again, man.
See you, Albert.
All right.
There's one of the best right there. Sports Illustrated. Lucky to have him. That's Albert Breer right here on the Rich Eisen Show.